Now it's been a while since I've tied an old wet fly for the show, and I found one for today's video in John Roberts' Illustrated Dictionary of Trout Flies. The pattern is called the Red Arrow, and it's on his plate of traditional Irish flies. It was created by Syl Higgins, a dentist from Longford, Ireland, and like a lot of older patterns, it uses seal's fur for the body, which I know is not that common today, but good news, a lot of companies out there offer an imitation seal's fur, which has most of the same properties, but it's actually a little bit easier to use. Fulling Mill has a version called Syl X, but you could even use something like an angora goat, which may not have the same translucency, but it'll have pretty much the same bugginess. So this pattern, the Red Arrow, you can get a lot of mileage out of a pattern like this. I probably wouldn't mess with the tail or the front hackle, but I might consider tying the body out of a different color. Of course, if you made the body out of chartreuse, you probably couldn't call it a Red Arrow, but still, it'd be a pretty cool looking fly. So there it is in the vise, an old Irish wet fly called the Red Arrow. Now nothing too fancy, but I think it's a pretty sharp looking fly. Now I'm tying this on a size 10. It's a 1 extra long barbless wet fly hook. I'm going to use some black thread, go ahead and catch it in, take it back to the bend of the hook. And I'm going to catch my tail in before the rib, just golden pheasant tippets. And the trick I use for these, grab them by the tips and, well, don't get them all wrinkled up there. Take your scissors and just snip about 10 or so, maybe 8. You don't have to get too huge here. And that way, the tip should stay aligned. So judge your length right there. I kind of like when you have both bars showing. I don't think that it really matters, but I think it does look kind of cool. So a couple wraps, catch those in. Now let's take our thread back up, almost all the way up here. And we're going to catch in a rib. It's going to be silver oval tinsel. I'm sure wire would be just fine right here. Might even be better to give it a little bit of weight, but the old pattern did call for this oval tinsel, so I'm going to stick with it. Okay, leave your thread toward the back. Put a good bit of wax on it. And now take your seal's fur, or imitation seal's fur, or synthetic. This is like the Fulling Mill, I think they call it Syl X. And you could probably do a dubbing loop. If you wanted a real tight body, yeah, sure, go ahead and put this in a dubbing loop, but I want it to be kind of fuzzy, and I'm going to put the rib pretty close together so it'll really help hold it all in. So put enough on here so you can dub the back half of the body red. Now let's do the same thing with some black. Maybe just a little bit more black. Okay, I think that's fine, and that's certainly a big buggy fly, but if you want to tame it a little bit, just put these wraps closer together. And if you want it to keep it pretty fuzzy, you can, keep them spread apart. Now the last thing is going to be our collar hackle, just black hen. And this is a pretty small feather. I don't want it to be real long. And I'm not putting a ton of it on here. Maybe 3 or 4 wraps. We'll see what that looks like. And I am going to need my hackle pliers because this feather is pretty small. So just go ahead and wrap them up. And don't worry if you have some of these fibers going forward. We can take care of those when we wrap our head. And I just like to lick my fingers, pull everything back, and then try to make a nice clean wet fly head. You can see I've got some of that Syl going forward. That's a little bit of a mess right here, but we can either spend some time and bury it in our head, or, you know, take your singeing tool if you want when you're done, or as long as you can get your tippet through there, don't worry about it. Now let's do a quick whip finish. So that's really it, but you know, I've got a little bit of time left. Let me show you this thread zap tool. It's got this couple of AA batteries in it. You turn it on and that tip gets hot, and a couple seconds it gets hot enough to just melt these little, you know, stubs, little mesh you have coming off, and then your head cement will make it a nice clean fly. So that's it, my friends, an old Irish wet fly called the Red Arrow. Now, I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.